I thank the gentleman very much for yielding, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Let me be clear, as the only woman on this dais, that this bill is blatantly unconstitutional and that women have a constitutionally protected right to abortion. It's a fact that's been made clear by the Supreme Court in Roe v. Wade and subsequent court cases, and states that have tried to introduce similar 6-week abortion bans, such as in North Dakota and Arkansas, those laws were ruled unconstitutional. So there's no reason to believe that this law would face a different fate in the Supreme Court. And let me make it clear that 7 in 10 Americans oppose overturning Roe v. Wade because they do understand that we as women have the right to determine how we are going to proceed with choices that we make about our own bodies. And I'm deeply respectful of women who disagree with me about the choices that they would make. I think that's something that we as women need to recognize. There are some divergent opinions on this question, but the reality is that I have a right to determine what happens in my own body. And so the bottom line is that this decision should be kept between her woman and her doctor. And I wanted to ask Professor Smith, you've made the case that this bill, if it were to be signed into law, would not stand up in the courts, and yet we continue to see these attempts being made. So let me just clarify. Professor Smith, do women have a constitutional right to an abortion?
Absolutely.
And despite the nearly 400 attempts to strip away these rights, women will continue to have the constitutionally protected right to abortion?
I certainly hope so. It's possible that at some point it could be overturned.
So what do you see as the purpose of this bill that has no viability in the courts?
I see it as an attempt to overturn the right to abortion and take that right away from women, and to tell women how we should control our own lives and take the decision away from us and our families and our doctors.
And Ms. Altman, I'm struck by the fact that in your written testimony, it contained no mention of the constitutional right of women to make their own decisions about their own bodies. And you further made a statement in your written testimony that, and I'm quoting you, "We have shifted our priorities from basic human rights to women's rights." Do you not believe that women's rights are human rights?
The gentlelady's time has expired. The witness will be allowed to answer the question. Please go ahead and answer the question.
I think that was a question to Dr. Altman.
Yes. Ask your question one more time.
Do you believe that women's rights are human rights? Because in your written testimony, you said we have shifted our priorities from basic human rights to women's rights. Do you not believe that women's rights are human rights?
I think women have human rights, but I don't think that our right to convenience trumps a person's right to life. I don't believe that.
I yield back.